that are going to be going along as part of Bafana Bafana to go represent South Africa at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Those players are going to be announced by Coach Hugo Broos at the moment. We are having a bit of an issue with connecting via video call. The coach isn't in the country at the moment. He had gone home for Christmas and for the holidays, so he is in Belgium. We're hoping that we're going to be able to connect in just a few. But Mark and Velile are here in the meantime. Mark, any huge expectations as far as this is concerned for you? What was the common consensus, even on social media, to say it pretty much covered everyone?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the 50, you could see exactly the pool of players that the coach had to select from. I think the one exception, possibly the man who's playing out in Egypt, and we saw him now recently in the Champions League, is Fakhri Lakay.
Oh, against Sundowns, he was, yeah.
I mean, against Sundowns, we saw in both legs, you know, he performed really well. He's a nightmare to deal with. He's a live wire. Maybe he's the one exception from the list, especially given the challenges we have up front. But other than that, you can see exactly the pool of players that the coach does have to choose from.
And then there's obviously players that the coach, even if he had wanted to, couldn't select due to things like injuries, etc. Who is injured at the moment that is unable to be picked? Lebo's one?
Yeah, I think with Lebo, because also in the last few months, the coach has been talking about the different dimension that Lebo brings into the team. And I think against Cote d'Ivoire, he could see what he really wanted, especially against strong teams. And we're up against very strong teams, a team that is coming from the World Cup in Tunisia, a regular at this level in Mali. So you need that type of a player. The uncertainty also around Lyle Foster, will they give in to what Burnley is saying? So I think when you look at them, and we've not really had a strong representation of overseas-based players. And when we have those, it's key players, especially up front. And Mothiba and Foster are our key players. And that is why, for me, just like what Mark is also saying, I felt that not to have a Fakhri Lakay in your top 50, it's a huge omission for me, especially based on also what he's done at African Champions League in the last 2 months.
And that's going to be one of the big things that everybody's watching for is here. Is Lyle Foster's name going to be mentioned? Is he going to be part of the national team? And then what are going to be the procedures going there forth? Because Lebo Mothiba being out already says up front, we're a bit lackey. Then you've got Fakhri Lakay, wasn't mentioned at all. But if he's not, it then brings different questions altogether, Mark, to say we've seen him come out for Burnley.
Yeah. I'm really torn with this one. It's really a difficult one, and especially, you know, the whole club versus country row has been there for the ages. But this one is a bit different, I would say, because you look at what Burnley has done. You know, they've played a massive role in actually getting him back into a position where he can play, because we know the challenges he's experienced. And I think he missed close to 10 games for his club, and they were willing to allow him to take care of himself, give him the time off that he needed in order to get himself back. It's such a tough one.
Here's where I stand.
It's such a tough one.
Because then you hear Vincent Kompany coming out. I think that was his latest interview. And he says, well, Lyle is playing again. He's back, but I mean, he's not 100%. But whether he goes to the Africa Cup of Nations or not will depend on the player.
The international rules coming from FIFA are very clear on this one. That for the duration of this tournament, this is a FIFA-sanctioned tournament. If a player is fit, fully fit to play, his FA can call him up. And if there are injury concerns, that player must come and be assessed by the national team doctors. And now, we're not talking about someone who is not fully fit to play. This is someone who's playing already. Now, spare a thought for a Bafana Bafana that is struggling to score at the Afcon. And let's say if the player is not selected and he continues with this club and he plays.
Because as the Africa Cup of Nations is ongoing, there will be games in the Premier League.
Yeah, they do take a 2-week break, but then, yeah, they will resume.
There will be games during
the Afcon. Yes. It might be, I mean, a case of if Bafana progress, we might see him playing for his club at the same time as Bafana playing on the field. And that's exactly what Velile is alluding to.
I'm not sure if you watched the last game.
And also, this is not an isolated case. We must also say that there are number of similar cases of European-based players. I was reading a story, in fact, one of the Malian goalkeepers, his club is saying they have signed in their contract, they're saying there's a clause in the contract that the club decides on the collapse. No, that club is wrong. The FIFA rules are clear when it comes to this. So,
country precedence over club.
Exactly. And what that country can do, or Mali can do, is to write to FIFA and say that player for the duration of the tournament must not play for his club.
Yeah. Those are the rules, and that's what can happen. The reality is, I think this is very different. And I don't think we can compare this to a player just coming back from injury, because Lyle wasn't injured. It wasn't that he was incapable.
Wasn't a physical.
Yeah, he wasn't incapable of playing. But we know it's been well documented that he did suffer, from depression or whatever the case may be, and he wasn't in a good place to be able to perform on the field. And the fact that the club took that stance and allowed him the latitude to be able to seek the help that he needed. And one of the things that company has said is that for him to continue his recovery, he needs to be in the environment that he's been in to recover. Whether that's good enough for Velile, I don't think so.
It's right in front of me, and we're going to take a quick break. And hopefully when we come back, we'll be able to have the coach. I mean, he came on for a couple of seconds while we were having a conversation, but the line wasn't strong enough to hold. The one thing I can, because you've been watching now, it's been almost 20 minutes of you watching. So let me give you a little something. With Bafana Bafana, of the 27 players that are allowed to be picked and chosen, we've gone with 23 players and 3 standby players. So all in all, 26 players. Tell you more when we come back. Hugo Broos, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Yes, thank you. Hello.
Coach, you are coming from home at the moment in Belgium. How's your break been?
Yes, it was a very nice time. I was with my family, a few days off. And yes, we were together for Christmas. So yes, it was. I enjoyed it.
Obviously, Coach, there's going to be questions around South Africans to say, why is the coach not in South Africa during this time? And why is the coach not in studio with us? Why is the coach at home during such a big, important announcement?
You have to understand that on 1 year, I'm 8 months in South Africa without my family. And I think when Christmas is there and when New Year is there, that you need to be with your family. And it was impossible for me to come for only 1 hour and announcing my team to come to South Africa and leave my family again alone. I'm very sorry for that, but there is something more important than Afcon and than football, and that's family.
More with you, Coach. I took time out to go home as well up until this moment. Well, we do hope that the family's well and that you had a great time. Coach, just one more thing before we even get into this. What is the sort of preparation, what is the thought of thinking that went into picking the players that you picked?
Yes, as you know, or as you don't know, I was very upset because PSL didn't want to stop the competition on the 24th. So we could give 7-8 days off that the players could recover mentally and physically from the overloaded program that was in the months of October, November. We wrote already a letter to PSL. They just didn't answer that moment. So I wrote again a letter on November, because I saw during the camp for the games against Rwanda and against Benin that players were tired. Certainly the players of Sundowns, they were mentally not good. So I asked them, please stop the competition on the 24th. And then they answered, and I was really, really very upset that they said, we support Bafana Bafana and the efforts of the coach. But, and then there was much blah, 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 blah. And at the end, they were saying, yes, no, we can't stop the competition then because everything was discussed in June. But I wrote the letter already in May. So I'm very sorry, but please, that they don't tell me anymore that they want to support Bafana Bafana. If they don't support me, okay. But how can you not support your national team? I really don't understand it.
As it stands now, what does this mean for when you get your players and your preparations for Afcon? When do you get the players? When are they allowed to be with you? What is the agreement at the moment?
Yeah, but first of all, we thought to start a little bit earlier, but I saw that some players even played 30 and 31 of December. So you can't start the preparation on the 2nd. They need some days off. So we start now, or we come together on the 4th in the evening, and the 5th we take the flight, an early flight to Cape Town, and from the 5th in the afternoon we start training. And then, yes, okay, then we will see how the players are. We will do some tests and see if they are physically ready to start preparation, or if we have to give them some more days recovery. I can't answer that question now. We will see it on the 5th when we do the first training.
And then are there any preparation games that you've secured with perhaps other nations that you're going to be playing?
Yeah, that was also a problem. If you can start sooner, you can play 2 preparation games. Now you start only the 5th. So you can't, because on the 10th we have to go to Ivory Coast again already. So there was only one moment that we could play a preparation game, and we will play on the 10th against Lesotho.
Well, Coach, you've arrived at the time that many players in this country, but also the nation at large and the continent has been waiting for South Africa, for Bafana Bafana, for Coach Hugo Broos to announce the 23-man squad that you'll be taking with you to the Ivory Coast to fight for the Africa Cup of Nations, Côte d'Ivoire 2023. Coach, I'm going to leave the floor to you now, as we always do, to lead us in reading the players that you've selected. Coach, over to you.
Okay, thank you. So we will start with the goalkeepers. Ronwen Williams, Veli Modva, Ricardo Gos. Defenders, Sidney Moby, Grant Kekana, Terence Machejo, and Konsinati Sibisi, Aubrey Modiba, Sianda Kulu, and Motobi Mvala. Midfield, Koliso Mudau, Tebogo Mokoena, Spephelo Sitole, Jaden Adams, Tabang Monare, Tapelo Maseko. So, the strikers, Tapelo Morena, Temba Zwane, Zakele Lepasa, Oswin Apolis, Mihlali Mayambela, Percy Tau, and Evidence Maghopa.
Is that it, Coach? The 23 players, I know that you're allowed to take 27. Are you taking just the 23?
Yeah, we just take the 23, but we will ask some players to be ready if we need them. So we will see now with the 2 more competition games in front of us if there is something happening. But if there are no bad injuries and we can start with those 23 on the 5th, okay, then we don't need them. But there are 3 players. We will ask them to be standby.
Standby here in South Africa, or are they traveling with you from the get-go, the 3 players that are on standby?
No, they're just staying in South Africa. And again, we will see on the 5th how the team is, how the injuries are. And yes, in function of that, maybe we have to call them. But it's just that they should be standby if there happen some things in the next days. And yes, if we have maybe to send someone home the 4th.
Mind telling us who those three players are, Coach?
Yes, this is Sibongiseni Medveva, Elias Mukwana, and Tapelo Xoki.
Well, there it is, the 23-man squad with three players that are on standby. Sibongeleni Mthethwa, Elias Mukwana, as well as Tapelo Xoki are the three standby players. Coach Hugo Broos has named his squad. Here's a page for confirmation of the 23 plus 3 players to represent South Africa at the Africa Cup of Nations. Goalkeepers, Ronwen Williams, the second most capped players with 37 caps. The 31-year-old makes his second Africa Cup of Nations. Veli Motwa, the 32-year-old with 4 caps, is goalkeeper selected. Ricardo Goss, the 21-year-old who was first picked under Molefi Ntseki, who's never lost a game in the 2 games that he's played for Bafana Bafana, also makes it into the goalkeepers there. The defenders, you have Sydney Mobi, the 21-year-old, also called up firstly by Ntseki in the fourth, 2019, in fact, 16 caps is what he's got. Grant Kekana, 8 caps, first called up by coach Hugo Broos in 2022. Terence Mashego, the 25-year-old left back, also makes his call up there. You've got Nkosinati Sibisi, 28-year-old. 14 times he's been in the squad, started 7, came on as a sub only once. Aubrey Mudiba played his first game in the World Cup qualifier against Mauritania in a 1-1 draw. Tlhompo Kekana scoring a goal in that one. Sianda Ulu hasn't seen much game time as far as his team is concerned, but the 31-year-old first made his debut in 2012, being called up by Steve Kompela. Khulise Mudau, the 28-year-old, also with 7 caps, called up on the 25th of March 2022 for the first time. Tebogo Mokoena, the 26-year-old, if we make it all the way, actually, here's an interesting thing about him. His last group match, he's born on the 24th of January. That's the day that we play Tunisia. So he'll be celebrating his birthday if he comes on, well, Tebogo Mokoena, on the day that we play Tunisia. Tapelo Sitole, the 25-year-old Yaya, who, of course, plays his football in Portugal. Jaden Adams is another one that comes on, the 22-year-old, one of the young players in this national team, currently, of course, a champion of the South African Carling Knockout Cup. Mtobi Mvala is another one, the 29-year-old, who made his first debut back in 2020. Scored his first goal in the World Cup qualifier against Ethiopia in 2021. Tapelo Maseko, the 21-year-old, the youngest player called up by coach Hugo Broos. Tapelo Morena, the right back or winger, depending on where the coach is going to be playing him, of course. Missed out a lot in his career since being called up in 2020 due to injury. Themba Zwane, one of the oldest players in the team, alongside Thabang Munare, the 34-year-old. The last time Thabang Munare was part of the team was on the bench versus France. Zakele Lepasa, the 26-year-old, of course, who's played 9 games, scored 3 goals and 2 assists, the last time against Morocco, a brace in that game there. And of course, Oswald Apollos making a call-up wherever he is, jumping up and down, looking to make his debut there as well. Mihlali Mayambela, the 25-year-old, 27 games, 6 goals in the league in Cyprus at the moment. Percy Tau with the most caps at 39 caps for Bafana Bafana. Also just named the Interclub Player of the Year. Also just played the Club World Cup, in fact. Evidence Makgopa, 23 years old, one of the youngest players here as well. First called up under Hugo Broos. Has played 10 games and scored 3 goals. This is your Bafana Bafana. Your thoughts on Twitter? I know they're coming. What do you think of Bafana Bafana squad announced by Coach Hugo Broos? We take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a couple of questions for Coach Hugo Broos. Hopefully, the line will hold. Mashego ra gopela tle o re tshwarelle mowe Nkosinati Sibisi, Aubrey Mudiba, Sianda Ulu, Mtobi Mvala and Khulisho Mudau. The forwards, Themba Zwane, Zakele Lepasa, Oswald Apollos could get his debut at the Cup of Nations. Mihlali Mayambela, Percy Tau, the most capped player and most experienced of all 23 selected. Evidence Makgopa, the midfielders, Tebogo Mokoena, Pelelo Sitole, Jaden Adams, Thabang Munare, as well as Tapelo Maseko and Tapelo Morena. The coach is still with us. He is live all the way out in Belgium. Coach, thank you so much once again for making time in order for us to do this. I do know that you're going to be traveling back to South Africa soon. But Coach, just one glaring big question I'd like to ask you is in and around Lyle Foster, not part of your 26-man squad, not even as a standby player.
So we had a lot of contact the last weeks with Burnley and especially with the coach company. Yes, first of all, they said, no, forget it. He will not be on Afcon. It's impossible. But still, I selected him in the preliminary selection because I thought, yes, you never know. So I was surprised that 2 weeks ago he played one half. And I phoned immediately to company. I said, hey, what's this? I don't understand it. And then he explained me that, okay, he played 45 minutes, but that he wasn't ready, that there was still the danger that he could have the same problems that he had 2 months ago. I said, okay, I will not discuss with you. I will let discuss the doctors. So our doctor had contact with the doctor in Burnley, and I get a medical report that it was impossible, and I repeat, that it was impossible for Foster to be on Afcon. And this is medical. Don't ask me why, but the risk and the danger is still there that if it goes a little bit the bad direction with Lyle, that he went back to where he started 2-3 months ago. So I was also surprised to see the last weekend that he played again. But again, this is a medical decision. It's not my decision. This is a medical decision. And don't forget that 3 weeks ago, Foster himself wrote a letter to SAFA that he didn't want to assist the Afcon because of mental problems. That's the story of Lyle Foster. And I'm not happy that he's not there because it's a very good striker. But again, this is a medical decision and I can't do anything about it.
And I hear you, Coach, and I guess it really is speaking into the abyss here when I ask you the questions, because once again, against Liverpool, we saw him come out. He played 85 minutes in that game there. So then the questions, I mean, this was just a day ago. So the questions would be arise to say, I mean, big match, big pressure. You're playing Liverpool, 85 minutes he was out there. And is the problem traveling? Is the problem being in Africa? Or is there some sort of aid that is needed for Lyle in order to come to his home country? But also, I mean, this is breaking news to me to say that Lyle himself wrote a letter saying that he would not like to be here, which arises a lot of questions for South Africans to say, is he rather wanting to stay at Burnley to cement his place at Burnley, which is something that many African players and countries have gone through when their players would rather stay and cement their places in their team? It leaves more questions than answers, Coach.
Yes, for me also. For me also. I don't understand the situation, but this is a medical decision. It's not my decision. I spoke with company half an hour, nearly an hour, and he explained me everything, and I could understand. The only thing is that he still needs 24 hours, 7 days help. And we can't give him that during Afcon. They told me even that because his letter was written before I selected the preliminary list, they told me that when he saw that he was on the preliminary list, that he was agitating, that he was not happy with it to be there. So those are not my words. Those are the words of company, and I have it in writing. So don't think that I tell you something that is not true. I have it in writing. I have the medical report. I have everything. I discussed it with the doctor. And again, it's surprising also for me. But Lyle Foster will not be with us in Afcon, and I couldn't select him for Afcon.
I don't want to press you on this, Coach. I think I'm understanding you now. I think what we're saying here is there's 24-hour medical needs that Lyle Foster has that SAFA and Bafana Bafana could not provide for him if he travels to South Africa, which Burnley at the moment are providing for him. That 24 hours, whenever he needs any sort of assistance with the challenges that he's got, they're able to provide and we're not.
You have to know that the situation of Foster is how you call it in English. It's very, very complicated. It's very complicated, and again for us, also for me, I can just read what the medical report said, and I can just listen to what the doctors are telling me. But what I understand, it's impossible. It's really impossible. And again, if South Africans or whoever wants more explanation of that, wants more details, and they won't give you details because it's a medical secret. But if you want it, phone Burnley, phone a company, phone the doctor there. It's not we that decide that Foster will not come with us to Afcon. It's not we. It's the doctors. It's medical. And again, it's not to me to tell all the story in details of Foster, but it has been very, very, very bad with him. Very bad with him. So the risk is always there if we don't have the help, if it's maybe a little bit too much pressure on him, if it's that he has again the same problems. Very sorry about that, but it is what it is, and it's for some people, and I think for most of the people, you can't understand it, because how is it possible that he can't come with us, but that he's playing with Burnley, as you said, Saturday, nearly all the game, the week before, 45 minutes. Yeah. So how is that possible? Yeah, I can't explain you that. I just have to listen to what the doctor tells me and what I read in the medical report. And that's it.
Do you believe it, Coach?
Listen, if we can't believe that, the world is already bad, but that should be really, unacceptable. It's not. It's nearly not possible that doctors are writing officially medical reports and that they lie. I'm very sorry, but if that should happen, hey, come on. How can we have confidence then in a doctor? If he's lying, if he should lie, I don't think that. But yes, I understand that you have the feeling that there is something not right when you see what happens with Foster. He's playing and he can't play with us on Afcon. Yeah, this is, I understand it. But what can I do? I can't do anything. If we should select Foster, it's not even, it's possible that he will not even come. I wrote his letter, so he didn't want to come. He didn't want to come.
Letter that he wrote to you.
I'm sorry?
The letter you're speaking of is the letter that Lyle Foster himself wrote to you.
Yeah, I have it there. He wrote it to the CEO of SAFA, and I have a copy of that. So.
I want to pick a player that doesn't want to be here either, Coach. I completely understand where you're coming from. But lastly, Coach, what does this then do? Are you happy with what your forwards look like at the moment? Because you've got Lebo Mothiba, who is out due to injury. Now Lyle Foster also unable to be picked. Fakhri Leke hadn't made your 50 squad either. Are you happy with what you look like in attack?
We have a big loss with Foster and with Mothiba. That's for sure. We have a big loss for them. So I've always been happy with Lapasa before. So and Magopa was with me 2 years ago. He did it very well. Then again, he went to Orlando Pirates, and there he didn't have really much play time. But you see now this season, the coach believes in him. So I think that yes, we can do something with those two strikers. But if I'm honest, yes, I should have liked to see Motiba and Foster with me. That's for sure.
We're going to take a break now. Thanks so much to Coach Hugo Broos there. We're going to keep him on the line. We do have our friends in media, fellow colleagues, journalists, who are also going to have an opportunity to have conversations with the coach. We're going to take that quick ad break. But before that, let me come to you, Mark. This is the first time you're seeing the squad. You're taking it in. You've heard what the coaches had to say. What is your first reflection?
Well, I feel for the coach, to be honest with you. I think he's been dealt two exceptional blows with the loss of Foster and Motiba. Those are two pivotal figures. It would have been two pivotal figures for him in this tournament. So my heart goes out to the coach. It makes his job that much harder. But I have to say, when I look at the squad, there are two glaring things for me. So one is an inclusion and one is an omission. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I can ask the coach this, but for me, Thabang Monare and then Bongs Hlongwane. Hlongwane has been a serious part of the coach's squad for the longest time. I mean, the World Cup qualifiers, Afcon qualifiers, he's always been there. Where did he fall short for me is a major question that I have.
I'm not sure if you heard that, Coach, the omission of Hlongwane and the inclusion of Thabang Monare.
Yeah. About Hlongwane, the problem with those guys who are playing in America, the competition stopped already the end of October. That's 2 months. 2 months that those guys have already. Okay, they train because Hlongwane is training in Maritzburg. Blom is training in the Supersport, I think. But okay, they don't play games for 2 months. You don't have, or don't forget that Afcon is a very intense tournament. You need the rhythm of the game. You can't. It's impossible. It's possible, but it's difficult after 2 months without a game, and it will be 2 months and a half because we start at Afcon, and then suddenly be on a good level. I think it is very difficult, and for me it was difficult also to choose. But yes, I took my decision, and I think for Hlongwane, who was not really convincing in the last games he played with us also. So I think that was for me the right choice. And Monare is a player with much experience, and he played good for the moment for Orlando Pirates. And I think we need that kind of player there, the guy with experience. So that is why I chose Monare.
Vedina, you've also had a look at the squad?
Yeah, I think for me, Coach, I know that for a very long time you've been saying you've got your 75% of your squad, but there's been the troublesome left-back position, especially since Maela got injured. I say now he came back last week, but he's only played, I think, less than 10 minutes. So the left-back position, Terence Mashiko, and this is someone that you worked with in your first selection. If you can just address that question. And also, I think for me, the other question becomes, I see 3 players from the latest Under-23 squad, and you did say that you are also building for the future in Jaden Adams. Apollos scored a brace again last week.
Coach, I'm not sure if you got that question. That was in and around the left back position, having Terence Mashiko coming in that left back there, and how troublesome the left back has been.
Yeah. First of all, that was a choice also, or it was Cross, or it was Mashiko, because we don't really have so much good left backs. And I chose Mashiko because he has already the experience to play for Bafana Bafana before, and he's playing again for Sundown. So I think the choice was right to take Mashiko and not Cross. Cross will be someone for the future, certainly. But he didn't play with us till now, and then immediately playing such a tournament without any game with Bafana Bafana. Imagine that, Motiba will be injured, then you have to put Cross, unexperienced. I think it was better than to take Macheco.
Coach Hugo Broos joining us all the way from Belgium. He's on the line with us. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll discuss the young players that Mark and Valilia speak of. You've got Tapelo Maseko, 21 years old, yet to make his debut. You've got Oswin Apollos, of course, 22 years old, the former Ajax Youth Academy player who's played one game against Rwanda. He'll be making an impact in this team as well. So a good mixture of experience, as the coach says, bringing in Tabang Monara for that experience, the 34-year-old, into this team. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up and reflect once again on the 23+3 announced by Hugo Broos. I can tell you now that Bafana Bafana are already trending in South Africa at #1, and it's not just South Africa, because I can promise you that in Mali, in Namibia, in Tunisia, they're looking at this selection and also picking their heads as you are. Coach Hugo Broos, of course, he had joined us for a while there to talk about his options and his choices. Unfortunately, we didn't have the normal time that we have with the coach because we did have technical issues at the beginning of our broadcast. Goalkeepers, Captain Ronwen Williams, Veli Motwa, and Ricardo Goss will be the three trusted men in goals with gloves. Defenders, Sydney Mobi, Grant Kekana. Once again, apologies to Terence Mashego. It's Mashego with an E and not an I. Kosnati Sibisi, Aubrey Mudiba, Sianda Kulu, Mutobi Mvala, and Kuliso Mudao. Temba Zwane, Zakele Lepasa, Oswin Apollos, Mihlali Mayambela, Percy Tau, Evidence, Mahopa. Midfield, it is Teboho Mukwena, Spelas Tole. You've got Jaden Adams, Tabang Munare, Tapelo Maseko, as well as Tapelo Morena. Coach, thank you so much. I knew you are going to be staying on the line as the journalists are going to be having conversations with you as well. But for us here at SABC Sport, we wish you the very best of luck. We will be tracking your journey in the Ivory Coast. We will be showing every single one of your games and giving you full support. They say you are now Coach Hugo Boss. So, boss, we're 100% behind you. Thank you for joining us, Coach.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, that's the coach there. I don't know if you could hear him, but I could hear him in my ear. He's saying thank you and goodbye, and we'll be joining him shortly with all the journalists. Guys, we didn't get to have the conversations we intended to have because, of course, of what happened a little bit earlier. But we will talk a little bit more about it on Monday night when Soccer Zone does return on the 1st of January with much more detail from all of us here at SABC Sport. Afcon, this is home.
What's up, guys? Slick here.